What's up, guys? I'm Joe. Today I'm talking about the new Kacey Musgraves album, Golden Hour. So Kacey Musgraves is back with Golden Hour, an album that is an absolute pleasant surprise for me. I'll be right up front about it. I am not a country music person. Apart from maybe a little bit of the classics, such as, Johnny Cash or like Willie Nelson or Merle Haggard. I don't know much about the genre. I've never really been too interested in it or drawn in by it. So I'm not going to try to pretend that I have an authority on genre or where this album fits into it or if it's the best country album of the year, like a lot of the, big reviewers out there are saying. I just want to talk about the album, in its own little bubble because it's one that I really do enjoy. Kacey Musgraves is an artist that, made a lot of waves with her major label debuts. I know as much as that. And is one that I've kind of had like on a list in the back of my mind that I wanted to get to because I had heard great things about her last couple of albums. And then with all the hype surrounding Golden Hour, I was finally just convinced to dive into it. Between all of the reviews, like I said, saying it's one of the best albums of the year already, even though this is kind of early to say that. And, just some friends making recommendations, musicians I like on Twitter, such as Haley Williams from Paramore, just giving glowing reviews about it. So I dived in, and I really love what I was hearing on this album. As someone that doesn't really know anything about country music, I feel like this is an album that I could get into because there's a lot more going on here. It has, like, its country kind of twang to it. You definitely hear it in her voice, which I really do like. But there's a lot of folk aspects on here, some pop or synth pop. The album has a really great atmosphere to it. It has a really relaxed and lush kind of feel overall. The sound is just very perfectly crafted to fit these more mellow songs for the most part. And I just feel it's easy to get swept up in these songs. It feels like a kind of flowy, moving kind of thing. I don't know if that makes any sense at all. But you hear it in a track like Slow Burn that opens up the album. It's one of my favorites on here. There's a nice, very slow build to this song, starting with just acoustic guitar and Kacey's vocals, and as it builds up, I like how the first chorus goes by, so a little bit of instrumentation gets added in, the second one comes in, and then the drums come in, and then the song really just starts to build there, adding in, different, banjo or mandolin, and the sweeping type atmosphere I was talking about. Not to mention that the melodies behind the verse and the chorus are both, very earwormy, very catchy and memorable, which is something that could be said about almost every song on here, if not every song on here. Some of the catchy stuff on here you hear in a song Love is a Wild Thing. Just a very great melodic chorus going on there. Even better bridge part in my opinion. And again, like I said, that very sweeping, spacey atmosphere of the album is really playing largely on this song as well. Also a song like Oh What a World. While it's light and there's acoustic driven instruments and stuff like that, it has like an almost psychedelic kind of feel to it in a way. The sort of synths, gliding around the back of the instrumentation. It's cool how the acoustic instruments really kind of just have their place in there, fitting right in there, especially like the banjo picking away is a really cool effect there. And there's just a really nice groovy bass line. That's something that's prevalent on here as well as a nice kind of groove. You hear that definitely in a song like High Horse, definitely the most upbeat one on this album. Like I said, a nice groove, the bass really holding that down. And, it almost Bee Gees or ABBA-inspired disco feel to this one, which you do hear in certain instances throughout the record, but definitely at the forefront of High Horse. But again, always grounded in those acoustic instruments, which, like I mentioned, makes a pretty cool effect for me. You have this spacey element to these songs, this rising, slow burn building type of feel. But it's always grounded. It's always rooted in those acoustic instruments and Kacey's very level singing going on here. She doesn't have a huge range or anything, or at least maybe she does, but she's not putting that on display. She stays kind of right in the pocket, and it has this very dreamy aspect to it. So I find that to be pretty cool. My favorite couple tracks come kind of, chunked together in the middle. You have Happy and Sad, which I think lyrically is one of my favorite on here. Just very personal, talking about just, having very mixed emotions, mixed feelings about, and, not really wanting to open yourself up to happiness even when you're feeling it because you've been let down in the past and, that's either coming or you don't want to experience that again. And, I mentioned, like, the way she kind of plays her voice throughout the album, kind of straightforward. Not really pushing the boundaries of her range or anything like that, and I think it just plays to the personal aspect of the lyrics. It works extremely well. Her voice just has a very personal touch, and it just makes the lyrics sound that much more real and compelling, and really allow her to connect to her audience that way. Instrumentally, the song's really cool too. Again, has that, relaxing, spacious, dreamy type feel to it. There's a cool kind of slide guitar, solo-ish kind of part in there before going into a final chorus at the end. I like the restrained, groovy kind of drum beat in the verses. I think it's pretty cool. And another one of my favorites, Velvet Elvis, comes up next. Again, we want to talk about groove. I think this is one of my favorites because it was probably the first to really suck me in as I was listening the first time through, and a song that really wanted to make me keep going back to the album. The bass, very groovy once again, but the guitar lines as well. Just that little kind of picking going on there. Just very really groovy, really catchy. And once again, Kacey's melodies on here are fantastic. I feel like any song on this album could be a hit because they are just so catchy, but not in like a contrived kind of way, not in the usual pop kind of sense. There's definitely something different going on here, definitely something unique, which I find pretty cool. And of course that's coming from someone that's not well versed in country music. So if you are, and there's more stuff like this, I feel like what I mostly will hear on the radio or something like that is the usual kind of pop country, which I don't like. So if there are artists like this, I'm sure there are out there, definitely recommend them below. I think that'd be really cool. I'd like to dive into that a little bit more. If this is a sort of, side of the genre I'm not very familiar with. The next track, Wonder Woman, I really like. A song that I think is lyrically really cool because I feel like how many songs have we heard at this point that are like, I'm not Superman? So to kind of take that trope and sort of spin it on its head, coming from a female perspective, is pretty cool. Another song that I think is melodically great, musically great. I like the little nods to what we know about Wonder Woman, the lasso, stuff like that. Like I said, taking like a usual thing we always hear in music and sort of spinning on its head and giving a nice little unique twist to it, I found to be pretty cool, which made that song really stand out to me as well. That's like my favorite, 3-song chunk of the album, though I do like all of it. Those couple songs are really great. The album ends on a fantastic, just piano-driven ballad, just piano and Kacey's vocals. Really great way to end the album. What was already, like a pretty relaxing one, to really just end it on that very final note of just the piano, just the vocals, I thought was really effective. We get something like that on Mother as well, which is just a really, quick song. Kacey talking about being away from her mom. I think it's another one of those songs that just, resonates lyrically for me. Yeah, and I don't think I hit everything, but, Lonely Weekend, another great song as well, has more of a bouncy feel to it, like some of the other tracks I had mentioned. So overall, really liking this album. It was a pleasant surprise for me as someone that is not familiar with country music. Just kind of checked it out on a whim, based on all these recommendations from friends and reviewers and stuff like that. Definitely enjoyed it quite a lot. So I'm feeling like a strong 4 out of 5 for this one. Let me know what you think of the album in the comments, whether I'm right, whether I'm wrong. Like I said, if there are more country artists like this out there, I'm sure there are, let me know in the comments. I definitely would love to check them out. As always, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.